Smile. You're on camera. Right, welcome back to the Identity Human podcast with Don and
Ray.
yes, and I'm excited. Why are you cheering?
So I didn't say Ray Ahmed.
Oh, well done. Don't leave me hanging. Okay. You didn't
just
actually.
said
Well
Ray.
done. I wouldn't even have picked up on that. We're just moving forward.
You would have picked up on it if I'd said Ray Ahmed.
Yes, which isn't that the funny thing about life, isn't it? People only notice when you're doing it in a way that they don't necessarily like, but as soon as you're doing it somewhere they're like, oh, we're good. I'm not going to complain now. So well done.
And if you followed last week's episode or the week before, you would get the context of this.
Okay. So we've had a week, and
We've had a week.
Yeah, but isn't every week a
It's
week?
been a good. I know. That's why I'm intrigued by what you mean.
Okay.
We've had a week.
And I think it's important, maybe if we just start off with like, we'll often talk about being busy and having a week and like the pace of life at the moment. Everyone you speak to is trying really hard to like, they're very rarely will someone be like, life is great. Like,
life is great.
But it's almost like there's a narrative where where it's not okay to speak about that because what if someone else isn't great? And so it's like you have these opportunities to challenge people's thoughts all the time.
What do you think inspires people more? Hearing about how great people's lives are and that things are good and feeling like, wow, they're saying to aim towards, or hearing people's struggles? And maybe a bit of both. I think it's a balance.
Yes, I agree. But I also feel, so there is a really good book, and I think it was Dale Carnegie's How to Make Friends and Influence People. And he talks about the power of social psychology.
Okay.
And one of the examples he gives in there, and I think I may have mentioned this before, is in a town or an area where someone famous has committed suicide rates increase because they've spoken about it.
Yes, okay.
And so this is where, like, if you believe in like thoughts create your reality, when we're having conversations with people and someone goes, oh, do you know what? I'm having like real trouble with the kids and then this is happening. And then you start to joke, those like negative jokes start to come. You're spreading that narrative. And then that person goes away and going, yeah, actually, my kids also like that. And you start to recognize those things. So they start to come into your mind.
But they're not value. I think sometimes people feel heard, like if they've felt a certain way about something and they've never been able to voice that, there's a lot of value in the release or feeling understood. So I totally get what you're saying. And out of interest, this is the point of today's episode.
It might be.
But if we kind of saying, well, how has our week been? I totally get that by talking more to the positive side of things, that it kind of will encourage. I get that thing, like, suicide kind of. If there's
social psychology,
social psychology. Yeah. I get that principle you've just explained. Totally get it. But is there not space somewhere for people to talk of their struggles? Because it seems, I know in recent years, in the last, I would say 5 to 10 years with social media and everything, there's been a huge move towards people really putting out their struggles. And maybe it's gone to the other extreme where it's maybe overdone now, and people getting overly, when they go on social media, they're getting exposed to, parenting is hard, this is hard, that is hard. I get that. But where would you say the line fits? Like, surely there is space for people to talk of their struggles because it actually helps people get through difficult things.
Okay. Maybe an analogy is good for us to like assess on. So preseason in rugby, arguably one of the hardest periods of a season. If I walk around and I go, oh, coach is making us do this. Oh, we've got to be up at 5 a.m. Everyone's up at 5 a.m. Everyone's tired. And I'm walking around and being like, I'm so tired. I'm stiff. And like, I'm not really sure how we're going to get through this. What do you think is going to happen to the guys around me? As opposed to if I go like, guys, I'm so sore, but let's make sure we keep going on this. Or like, I'm going to work harder than you tomorrow. I know that it's going to be painful, but we want to win this trophy.
I suppose it's having a positive spin on the struggle.
Exactly, and we don't do that.
Because another analogy is, I was recently talking to someone that I was actually interviewing for a job about breastfeeding. And I had a really, really tough time with, I managed to breastfeed all of my kids to like 12 or 18 months. And that's a big achievement for me. And it's not for everyone, but it's something that I really wanted to do. But it was hard. The first child was hard, just like with all the unknown. And then I did really struggle with my fourth. And she's like 10 months into her breastfeeding journey, and she really, really struggled too. And I feel like that, if I'd only heard of moms having these amazing positive experiences, I almost would have knocked myself down so much more.
Yeah.
But hearing that other people struggle, it makes you like, it just kind of, it gives you that space to know that it's okay if it's hard.
So how do you say a message of struggle and empower versus say a message of struggle and disempower?
Yeah.
So
and what is it? I was talking about that this afternoon with that message that we said from Tony Robbins, and I said, he said, turn, what is the analogy?
It would be like every struggle into a
but it's taking
puggle.
Any negative struggle to puggle. It's taking any negative or kind of like, I don't like down pressing. I'm losing my words on this evening.
Slow down, think about it, let your brain come to it.
But any negative emotions and thinking, how can you spin them into such a way that they actually uplift you? There's still lessons within that.
Yeah, and I think that's the key that people generally aren't doing, is we're scared to empower, either because we don't have that within us to empower ourselves, so we don't know how to say it, or we feel like you don't want to come across as toxically positive, or you want to fit in and everyone's talking negatively, so everyone starts talking negatively. So if you think about it, if you go to a networking event and the same people you always see always talk about being busy and, oh, this is a struggle, what are you going to start doing? You're going to start talking about that struggle and the negativity. It's that same, if you put an honest person into a gang of criminals and they stay there for a long time, what they think is a crime initially becomes part of the norm eventually. So where do you make sure that you are not someone that knows you should be empowered, but because everyone is too scared to challenge or be courageous or be positive, we all are just stuck in the cycle of, oh, we need to speak of struggle because that's important. Now, from the outside, I'm like, yes, there's struggle. So I'm going to be vulnerable. I'm going to say this is tough, but boy, I enjoy it. So I've acknowledged, waking up at 5 a.m. and then having to go all day and you're running your own businesses. It's like, but isn't that exciting? So it's like, yeah, are you struggling too? Amazing. How are we going to get through this? Because where's it going to end us up? Immediately, you've gone from like, oh, actually, I am like the best thing I've said to people lately is like, this is a chapter in your book. Like it's a chapter in your life story. And at 90, when you finish that final chapter for your great-great-grandkids to read, what are you going to have said about this chapter in your book? Are you going to say it was the worst thing that you couldn't see out of, all that kind of thing? Or are you going to be like, guys, that was a struggle. And boy, I'm looking back now and I laugh. And if you can think about it from that point of view, it allows you to realize that like it's a moment in time, but you can make the most of this moment in time by realizing that now is the time you can turn it around. Not 5 years time, not 10 years time. It's like, what's the tomorrow attitude going to bring? That's that turning point in chapter 6 of your 12 chapter book or whatever it is.
So Don, I have a very important question for you. How has your week been?
My week has been my week's been great. That's what I use. So
great.
Yes, it has been great because it's full of challenges. There's been a theme of like rebirth and challenge, and
you've had to work through some hard stuff.
Yeah, work through hard stuff, and that's like we go into self-awareness, and you get people from the outside to help you along the journey. They're going to say things you disagree with, or they're going to say things you agree with. So there's been some very rewarding moments, and then there's also been some really like, wow, is that right or is that wrong? I've had to really stay curious on it, and I've really enjoyed it. But it wasn't easy. And I think that's the thing, is like, it's how you excite yourself around those challenges, because it makes me want to do that again. Like I want to go and back to those people that are helping challenge me and the feedback that I'm getting and go like, right, I learned a hell of a lot because I worked through that. So give me more, because I realize how much I'm growing every time they do it. And I go, actually, maybe that wasn't the right context, and I can get my self-integrity up a little bit, or my self-confidence up a little bit. But it wasn't easy.
And but it's interesting when you go, I remember like we talk about shamanic deaths, because you briefly mentioned that, and like these big sort of shifts or changes that you have in your life or inwardly in yourself because of something that changes or something that needs to change within you. And it can be really tough when you're going through it. But when you look back on it, you're like, wow, that was really essential. That needed to happen for me to move on to this next level. And it's interesting where like if you ask the universe or God or whatever, the way you look at the world, or you just if you're not at all spiritual, you just say, if you ask to hit some new goal in your business or something.
You tell yourself.
Tell yourself, whatever it may be, whoever you talk to, would you ask to achieve something greater than what you currently achieve? You have to know that to up-level yourself, you're going to have to work through a challenge and rise to a new level. So if you can face those challenges and look at them in the way that actually on the other side of this, I know that I can, there's something greater waiting for me.
And I think it's an important point, because I don't want us to, I certainly don't want us to think that we have to be perfect in everything we do, because that's the flip side of being positive and great. It's like, oh yeah, I've got it all together. Like, the first thing we got to do is realize that everyone's going through something, and we don't have to keep it together. We have to rely on people around us. So it's that appreciation that perfect version of us in the future and where we are now is not there. So almost take a breath and be like, I'm trying really hard, but this sucks. But I'm doing it because I know where I want to be.
And actually a really good litmus test. So if you don't know what litmus test.
Well, I know,
do you
even though I wasn't good at science.
Tell me what a litmus test
it was, I can't remember the chemical bond that this piece of paper had, but it would burn a certain color when you put it in flames.
What was a test? No. Litmus tests is for
it's
pH levels.
Is it?
Am I going crazy?
I always thought litmus test was done in a lab.
No, I need to Google this.
It's done in a lab at school where you lit a like flint piece of paper and it lit a certain color to show you. That's why it's called the litmus test. Whereas I've never heard of the...
yes, litmus test is for the alkalinity. So it tests the pH. So it gives you... a litmus test gives you... it is a color thing.
Yeah.
But it's usually a piece of paper with liquid on it. It goes a certain color. It doesn't burn.
I mean...
I don't think a litmus test burns.
I mean, I do the pool.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
So a litmus test is the pH, the alkalinity of something.
Yeah.
And it helps you when you do the test to measure where are you feeling it. You couldn't say, are you feeling acidic or are you feeling more calm and basic? However you want to be.
Balanced.
A good litmus test for your energy or your state of where you are is, well, I'm not saying a good, so I lost track of what I was going to say.
And effective.
It is important.
Yeah.
No, I was going to say, it is important, like a litmus test, to know where you are on the scale. Like, how have you dealt with the challenges? Or how are you feeling generally in your mindset? Because just knowing where you are can empower you to know that if you know you're in an agitated or just like a negative energetic state, as you walk in the room and see your child leaning over and knocking that freshly poured bowl of cereal and it smashes on the floor, and you've recognized already that you're not in a good space, you will then know to take a few more breaths before you respond. So I think it's really good to have a litmus test in your some way, whether you wake up in the morning and as your feet hit the ground, you go, okay, where am I on a scale of 1 to 10? And so this leads into a great litmus test that you found, Don, about 3 years ago, was daily ice baths. So what I thought we discussed before, what we could discuss on this episode, was really your journey in ice baths, which leads on to our, like, how's your week?
Yeah.
And all this conversation we've been having. I think ice baths naturally flow into that. Like, how can we use ice baths to face challenges and learn more about ourselves? And I would love to hear your journey. I mean, I've obviously heard it before, but something that Don's also come to realize this past week is that he doesn't talk enough about his own journey. So although I've been on the sidelines and been, on witnessing everything, front row seats more than sidelines, it's really interesting hearing you talk about your journey and how, in your own words, how you've experienced your journey. So how long ago did it start? I think it was like 3 years ago.
Okay.
You obviously did. So Don, professional rugby player, wasn't unfamiliar with cold water exposure. You would do it once, maybe twice a week. Didn't like it. You would do it once, maybe twice a week, as part of your training or post game procedures, and your coaches or physios or trainers told you have to do it. But there came a point where you started ice bathing daily or cold showering daily.
Yeah.
So yeah. How did that begin?
So it began in rugby, and I remember the first ones we used to have were in like baths. Like literally, like porcelain baths.
Yes.
With a load of ice chucked in, you get in, it's just your legs. And I hated those. Like I genuinely hate, a little secret, I secretly hate getting wet, especially in water that's colder than my body temperature. I genuinely sometimes, like, when the kids want to go swim, I'll think of any excuse not to swim until I've broken that like initial water barrier, and then I'm fine. So yeah, it's a really weird one because everyone goes, oh, you must love water. And yeah, it started in those porcelain bars. Then when we got to Chiefs, we had a plunge pool, and that was probably between 8 and 12 degrees plus or minus. And I was never a big fan, but I started to get the momentum of going in it. Do you remember that ALS Ice Bucket Challenge?
I saw you post that video today. What did ALSL stand
It was in
for?
I think it was an autoimmune muscular degenerative.
Yes, so you posted a video on social media today about you doing the ASL challenge. But the one it was 8 degrees. I mean, that's not even difficult compared to what you make us do now.
But so it was difficult then because remember, you've got flowing water because they got the pump going, and you don't genuinely want to be there. And we used to stay in for like 10 minutes.
Okay. Yeah.
So like, and daily. So we used to get in and it's like, it's up to here and you'd move around and all that kind of stuff. And it was, the more I got into my rugby, the more I took my recovery seriously. I would maybe there was a good 7 years of my 9 years at Chiefs where I would be in the ice baths if like, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
Okay.
And being a really good routine where you get out of the ice bath into a hot shower. Okay. So it was really nice. And I love that but it served the purpose purely for recovery. And I saw people try and fight that, try and prove scientifically it didn't work. But for me, it always did. It was just a placebo thing.
Purely for you at that stage. There's so many amazing benefits to ice bath, but for you, you were just really honing it on that recovery piece post games, post hard training sessions.
And I would say that even at that time, I was one of the more consistent guys doing it. And you'd pick up other guys doing it. Then you'd get a group of guys like copying Wim Hof, and they would do like a 3-month stint, but then not do it again. Whereas I would just be in, and there'd be like, say, Dave Ewers and Tank, and like a few of the guys that would come in there consistently. Jens was always good at doing it. And then when I retired, I was working really heavily on trying to build habits, because I used to give like streams every Tuesday for the gaming athletes in the e-commerce business. And I was trying to help someone with habits one day. And I did all this research and like, you read the book and you talk about it. And I was like, oh, it's making our beds. And one of the people was like, Don, as much as this is great, like making a bed, it just doesn't work for me. And I was like, you know what, you're right. And I'd read somewhere about this successful businessman that said, if he was to give one piece of advice, it would be cold shower first thing in the morning to win the day.
And it's interesting because I see so many people like slamming that advice, like, oh, I'm successful and I don't cold bath. Cold ice bath every morning.
Don't get me. I'm trying to make sure I tell my story rather than go on to the narrative. No, I know. I'm saying there's a narrative at the moment where people will find reasons why you shouldn't do something rather than just let it work for those people that it's working for. Yeah. So I would never go out of my way to post about veganism not being good.
Yes.
Because I'm like, for the person that it's working for, let it work for them, because they are committing to something that is improving their life. But we will have people that will go out of their way to try and stop people from achieving something because there either isn't the science or it's just a fad.
I think it's a crazy logic to say, well, I'm successful and I don't do ice bars or journal or do all those things. There's so many ways to be successful, but that doesn't mean that this is not an amazing stepping stone towards someone's success story.
Yeah.
And if they haven't been able to get traction on any other stepping stones, it can be a fantastic.
Which was me. So I never used to make my bed. I wasn't consistent in anything.
You didn't find anything else
unless I was accountable to someone else.
At this stage, where did the cold showers come in?
The cold showers came in.
Was it not
just before I retired? So it was like a December. Okay, I remember I started like a January. So I was already cold shower.
Did you cold shower each day?
It was genuinely that. It was like, how do you build the habit? And then I was like, okay, I'm going to start to cold shower because I read somewhere about winning the day in the first 5 minutes.
Okay, and so is that where that came from?
I think, unless
you almost need to sit down and journal this.
When did you give me? It was for a birthday. You gave me that small, really small, like Lego person, not Lego person, but like that miniature ice bath that you thought I'd fit in, that you tried to get in. That was in September. And then I started ice bathing in like October.
But you've been cold showering.
And I've been cold showering for a year. Okay, so it was December cold shower. I was
watching you cold shower every day for like a year, and I'm like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And then after a year of you doing it, I bought you that funny in September, that funny ice bath
Yeah.
that I have a video of that I barely fitted in.
Yeah.
And that was the September. And by the December, January, I then started cold showering every day.
But I was always interested, like, what was it? Because it wasn't like you saw my life changing from cold showering, but there was just something in you that was like, that it made you want to cold shower, even though it wasn't changing my life. So this is a good way of like, is it just this human driver of us wanting to be included or want to be part of something because it's consistently there, as opposed to seeing how magically it benefits?
I think my biggest thing for starting to do the cold showers every day, because I've done them every day now, coming up like December will be 2 years.
Yeah.
I've missed a very odd day here or there if it's as it worked out, but basically every day. If I've got wet, I've got in the cold shower. Why are you smiling?
No, I agree.
And all I can think, it's almost like we need to like journal on this ourselves to like get to our other source, but all I can think, my main reason was watching you do something and it become a habit that truly stuck. Like when someone's done something for a year and you've watched them go, Don's like really mapped out the journey that you go through and all like the doubts and the way your chimp will come out. We haven't spoken to chimp, this idea of a chimp, we'll come back to it, but the way your chip will come up in different ways throughout that year or 2 year journey. It's really interesting. And I'd watched you do that. And like I said, observed front row seat, seen you do this. And I, as quite like a driven person myself, battle to make habits stick.
Yeah.
Kind of like you say, you would see guys do for 3 months and fall off. And so I thought, well, how do I get something like you spoke, like you spoke to this whole minimum maximum, finding something that was like a core thing that you do in your life no matter what. And that really appealed to me. And it meant that like I can look back now and no one can take away from me that I'm almost at the 2 year mark of doing this. And no matter what happens in my life, there's this constant that I'm working on myself every day. It's about 10 minutes a day. And it really, that is the biggest thing. Watching you develop a habit that stuck so well, I wanted that because there's so many times that I've tried to develop habits and I've never, and we've spoken about that, like self-belief.
Yeah.
And that like keeping those promises that you make promises to yourself all the time. I'm going to eat healthy. I'm going to tell my family I love them. I'm going to give hugs. I'm going to phone my friends. You make promises all the time, but you don't keep them. And I love this idea of creating a habit, making a promise to myself that would stick, and that's what it's done. I don't know what it is. Why are you smiling? So you got a huge chest. If you're not watching the video,
reasons.
Don is sitting here with a Cheshire cat grin.
Because there's 2 reasons, right?
His face.
I love hearing you talk passionately about that. But what makes you think I'm coach for a career?
What makes you think I don't get the?
Because I was telling my story and I've managed to somehow weasel it without you even realizing it back towards you to get stuff out of you.
I realized that. I thought, well, I was thinking to myself, I'll tell my story, but he's not getting away with it because we're going straight back to you.
Okay.
I really thought that out. So that's my story, why I started. And it was very much, that's why I was intrigued to hear why you started.
Okay, so I genuinely was a very similar reason.
For habits.
It's a very similar reason. It was because I wanted to do something for myself that was consistent, because I always saw, at the time, the people that I saw successful were consistent. So I wanted consistency. That was like that goal achievement model that was always about consistent. And I figured out that there was always a reason other than you that could come up to stop you from being consistent in something, whether that's gym, whether that's seeing friends, whether there's too many other things that could stop you from being consistent. So I was like, okay, how do I come up with something for me that is like, that I picture me as a 70-year-old, I can still do. So there was examples of people that do like 200 press ups a day, and they've done that for like 50 years. I'm like, that's the kind of thing I want to do. Is like, I know that no matter where you can go, you can do press ups. So that's again why I do.
Looking for saying that no matter where you
Yes. And so, but then it was just an Instagram page that came up that said, this millionaire, I can't remember his name. He said he does 5 like cold showers first 5 minutes of every day because that's how he wins the day. And I was like, I'm going to try that. And I tried it. And it was really exciting.
And I do remember I used to watch your streams a lot more regularly in the first year or so of the Gaming Athlete.
Yeah,
I remember you having those conversations with people about making the bed and how do you have a habit to win the day. And I do remember that I remember that source. I remember that beginning to it.
So and then I suppose it was just because I was still ice bathing for recovery and it was just part of rugby. We just carried on with that, right? But then it came to retiring, and I have some secret goals.
Retiring from professional
rugby. I have some secret goals personally that I aspire to very high standards for myself in the right way. And that's, I think, what makes people successful is if you have high personal standards from yourself, you will constantly try and attain them. There are downsides to everything. There's always a positive and a negative, right? So it was almost like going, how can I build me up as the individual? And I know that one of the core things is consistency, which I am not. So for me, in terms of self-integrity, self-confidence, I know that I can walk out into the world and no one knows whether I've done any of my habits or not. And frankly, they don't care. So it doesn't matter. Like I was very good at being able to put on a front because of, being a role model in rugby. It was constantly, you always had to put your smile on your face when you lost or won. All of those things, and people would see the best version of you all the time, even if you were not in your best space because of what they thought you represented. But it's one thing that I picked up when I was maybe 10 is like, it was a saying, I can't remember who said it. They said, the true measure of a man is what he does when no one is watching.
I know I was going to say your big thing that I think you've had to work really hard on and you're so passionate about is your silent CV.
And I again,
which is what you do when no one else is watching.
Yeah, and so for me, the saying that now I've come up with, it doesn't really matter where it's come from, is who you are when no one is watching is more important to me than who you are when everyone is watching. And it goes in line with never meet your hero because you're always going to get disappointed. So the whole point of what I'm trying to do is create a version of me that doesn't change because I'm out there. Like if you were to come into my house and see me from a camera and I didn't know you were watching, how much dissonance or difference would there be from who you thought I was and how I presented myself to who I am in my own space? And that's been a big, big, big journey because biology doesn't lie. You have old habits that you start to figure out. There's things that just trigger you that wouldn't trigger you out there. And I'm always thinking about that because I want that authenticity, the energy, the consistency that I have at home to be the same thing that's out in the world. Because for me, that's true self-confidence. That's true unshakableness. Like if you can go into any environment, stress, pressure, anything, and people don't see a difference, that's where you get the most respect in your ability to lead and ability to inspire because they go, that's a person I can rely on.
And even because other people perceive that, they perceive authenticity.
Yeah.
Even if it's not obvious to them at their gut or at a cellular level, they'll pick up that energy. But I think even for your own personal self, if you know that you are putting on a front or a bit of a show,
people pick it up.
You at your core are not going to have that confidence because you're going to be uncertain. Like, should I be showing my true self or should I keep putting on this mask?
Yeah, you can't lie to yourself, and you've got to remember that. And so then into ice baths, right? So I was...
So you're cold showering every day and you've done the odd ice baths for recovery.
Yeah.
So where did ice baths come in? I have that sort of idea, but I'd love to hear from your point of view.
Well, you bought me an ice bath. And I think it was...
You'd been talking about it, otherwise I wouldn't.
Yeah, I had been talking about it. I can't remember.
Maybe because you just felt like the cold showers don't always did for the mental and the self-development side, but they are very clear, incredible, amazing health benefits of being fully immersed in the water.
Yeah.
And you'd done the odd bath, literally in our bath at home with cold water, and you just wanted to have, I think, access to those the proper health benefits, because you don't get the full health benefits from a cold shower. So you were loving the mental benefits, but I think you were looking for the health benefits. It's never been a physical health thing for me. So why did you go?
Always
into
been a
that?
mental game.
Because then you've spent a good year doing daily ice baths.
Nearly 2 years.
Nearly 2 years. In addition to, you've done like 3 years of cold water every day. It was
Yeah.
a year of just showers. Then you introduced the ice baths. But why did you need to go, just to make it more of a challenge?
Just, yes, because the mental challenge. And it's the cold showers was one thing, but it was easy enough. And then the ice bars, and I can't remember if it's you see someone else doing it and you go, that's exciting, I'm going to try it. And so Wim Hof, something would have planted a seed in my head that I've gone, that's a challenge. Because I was always like looking for like, what's the biggest challenge that's most accessible to me? And it just seemed to be ice bars. And I remember getting the whiskey barrel, and it came a time where it was like freezing, and it was, I was getting the sledgehammer out. Yeah, I had the whiskey, and it was great. So the whiskey barrel for me was incredible. And I even looked at the first time I ever got in, and that was only maybe 15 degrees, like straight from the garden tap. And it was like this exciting thing. The kids are all getting in and they're trying this, and you're getting in underpants, and it's like, when it's this completely strange experience, and it's brand new. And then I took a week or two's break, then got back in, and then suddenly this frostbite came round, and it was like 1 degree frozen over
Ice.
and like no one was doing them at that stage. And I was like, well, no one was shouting about them. And I was like, let's go, because I've got nothing else to do in terms of, I'm retired from rugby. Let's get the sledgehammer out. Ha ha ha, this is funny. And then everyone goes, that's crazy. Look how red you're on. You get this. There's just a whole rush of something new and exciting.
Adrenaline, attention.
Yeah, there would have been attention, and that's could have been an overlap from rugby. It could have been accountability, because I'm not necessarily. Someone did actually question in the coaching things I do, is like, maybe even though I go, it's not about me. They go, but you do enjoy the limelight. And I've never thought of it that way. And I'm like, yeah, I don't enjoy the limelight because I want it for my ego. Maybe this is ego speaking, but I enjoy the limelight because I know what being in the limelight allows me to reach people, to inspire. So at my core, if you remember, after about 3 months, I was like, yeah, I think I'm going to stop posting about ice baths, because I was posting daily, because it was like, hey guys, and everyone was like, this is inspirational. Look, I've tried this and I saw how it is making a difference. But then I said to Ray, I was like, I'm probably going to stop posting. I'm not doing this for anyone else. And Ray was like, well, actually, no, because I've chatted to like 4 or 5 different people on different occasions who said, like, I really needed to see that message that Don said today. Seeing Don's made me do that, has made me want to do something for myself. And then I was like, oh, okay, so there's more at play here. But for me, it was always about consistency. It was never about the physical health. And the dopamine stuff, it doesn't really do it for me. Not that I realize. So I did that for maybe just short of 2 years. And it wasn't an easy journey. There were times where I would like resist doing it. I've probably on 15 occasions done it first thing in the morning. But we have also had Clark to raise. So like we had to wake up at 5:30 in the morning to see to Clark.
He was 2 years old in August.
Yeah. So we had the 4th kid, and I was maintaining daily ice baths, cold showers, and then like press ups and stuff like that. So it was those and journaling. Like I took on all these things that in the thick of it, I've seen other people go, I can't keep that up because I've got. And I was like, oh, but I've managed to, in the thick of like transitioning, starting up businesses, failing, raising kids, do all of this and maintain that. For me, that was such a huge personal win that I would keep that going. But about 2 weeks ago, I said to Ray, I'm done. I think it's come to a point with daily ice baths that it's now
daily cold shower.
Yeah, still I will always do that, and I would that is the consistency element that will never ever fail, because I think that is more core to progress than we'll ever give it credit for. But people get bored of it very quickly. And I see it. It's a perfect way. If you like people and looking at mindset and psychology, I actively will help people and actively take an interest at when they fail, why they fail, what they did, and analyze the things that they didn't do that I told them they needed to do because they might happen. And they will, without even realizing it, what I've said might happen, happens because they did what they didn't do what I said they should do or what I suggested. Yeah. And and those patterns repeat over and over and over again. And the people that do follow that program, they do follow that same journey, because I know that journey works. their life changes. Like it's gone from like,
It sounds crazy to have something as small as a cold shower each day.
exactly.
But it's the seed that it plants.
Yes. And it's that we can't, like, it's like you can't explain the self-confidence you grow from. It's so indirect. For me, it's like the perfect analogy for like, if you work on your culture and spend money on developing your culture, your business flourishes, but you will never say it's because of the work on your culture unless you're the person doing the actual work. So
yeah, I interrupted you there. I would love to hear. So why have you decided to stop your ice bars for now? Your commitment to daily ice bars, you've kept your commitment to
it's okay. Yeah, it's a good question. It wasn't serving me anymore. It was no longer a big challenge. So I was used to it. What it was doing was almost creating a negative interaction, because it was having this law of diminishing returns, if that makes sense. I felt like there was just something that said, you've done 2 years, you've proven the consistency. Why not see if you can make way for something else and use it as an experiment? So I've always said to different people that I talk to, if they got addictive personalities, I said, make sure that if you do ice baths, it's not a crutch. It's not an escape from. So the worst thing that you could do is go and do this ice bath that makes you feel on top of the world, and then your rest of your day is down. And it's just not feeding you.
I've seen people in the group, like we have an ice bath for beginners group, who start asking about, can I ice bath twice a day?
Yeah.
They want to go in the morning and the afternoon because they're almost chasing that dopamine high that they get from
that they think they're getting from it. So yes. I then realized that, oh my goodness, have I for now nearly 2 years been using ice baths as a crutch without realizing it? So it's twofold. One, I'm going, it could be my chimp, finally one. But two, I'm now going to see what else I can add onto my life, because you always have to pivot. You always have to recognize when something works at a time that it's meant to. And that is developing into creating consistent habits that have more of an effect without taking up as much mental energy. So I've replaced the ice baths with actively trying to walk or run or do something else, which I was actively against going for walks 2 years ago. I was like, who goes for walks? Why on earth would you want to get up and go for a walk? Now I can wake up, and more days than not, I go, yeah, I'm going to go for a walk. And I actually do. Or like this morning, went for a run, which I don't run in the week for no reason. I did when we were doing the marathon, but I was like, I'll go for a run today. And I'm able to make those decisions and crack on. So I'm using it now as an experiment to see all of that mental fortitude, resilience, all the things that it's supposed to build. Let's see what it does for me when I take away that constant preseason type testing of my mental energy and release that into the rest of my life. And I'm seeing like some of the elements of my day to day, having very productive days and have the ability to switch on and refocus. And I think at the core of it, everyone goes, there's no health, or the health benefits are iffy at that. In fact, there might be. And it's worth, we
don't cover them in this episode, but do have a quick Google, and at the health benefits, there are some amazing benefits. And we've seen
pain
relief. I mean, even Don's
swelling. Yeah, I got my mom in. That was
we have a fascinating case study. If you are considering ice baths and you want to know about the health benefits, you can go and Google them. But just like as a really interesting
or you can buy our really cheap course.
We have a great you say really cheap, just a great start.
Well, it is. I'm just trying to create information to get as many people to do it.
Really outlines like habits, protocols, questions around cleaning the ice bath. Outlines the health benefits, a whole it's about like 3 or 4 hours of videos.
No, I wouldn't even say that.
Maybe much. 2 hours of videos.
Yeah, you can speed it up
for like £39. To like, if you want to start your ice bath journey and want to know like everything Don's learned in his 2 years of ice bath, no, like his decade of ice bathing, he's put in there with some human psychology elements to help him make a habit that sticks. And that's a course that we're opening the cart up to this next week. And it's just £39. Have a look. That's on identityhuman.com/ice bath. So we'll pop that into the show notes. But what I want to make sure we just cover off in this episode are some of the, briefly talk about the health benefits, and perhaps touch on, if someone wanted to start the ice bath journey, just things like why they should consider it. But so on the health benefits, I wanted to talk about just your mom's story so far. I found it really fascinating. So she has this issue on her one leg. So what she started doing, and she was also adamant ice bath, but she's watched John do it for 3 years now, cold water
And
cold
still
showers.
wasn't convinced.
And then I wasn't convinced, but she was in so much pain, and she was waiting to see the physio and get it sorted. Don said, I'm not going to expect you to immerse your body in the ice bath, but could we just up to your knee, get your leg in the ice bath? And so she started doing this every day, and she noticed it helped so much with pain relief. It's helped so much with these symptoms that she's been in such agony. But the fascinating piece, and why I wanted to share the story with you guys, is she was only putting one leg in, right? And so what we started to notice, and it wasn't just like the 2 or 3 hours after the ice bath, because she was ice bathing. She does it in the afternoons at like 3 o'clock, but in the morning, so like almost like 20 hours after her ice bath, you would look down at her 2 feet, and she's in her 70s now, and the one foot just looked so youthful.
Yeah,
like there was colorful blood flow. It just looked younger. The whole foot and leg. The other foot just looked like the skin was more wrinkly. It looked blue.
It just didn't look. It looked like a 7-year-old foot.
Yes.
Yeah.
And which one was the one that was going in the ice bath? The one that looked youthful. And yes, cold water slows down blood flow, but it also makes the body send.
It doesn't slow down.
What does it do? Well, I don't know.
So cold water will
vasoconstrict.
So it constricts it, which means it increases your blood flow, and that's why it helps with inflammation, because it starts the circulation.
So when we pointed out, oh my goodness, like look at your 2 legs, the one looks like incredibly just visually better. She now puts both legs in, and I think that's just like a perfect.
And there's a difference.
Test. It's like a perfect test of like how much more youthful, how much like her leg looked in terms of the amount of swelling and the blood flow. It just looked healthier and younger. So like there are some amazing health benefits. So like if you need that extra kick, or if you're looking for, you're unsure about the ice baths and the mental side doesn't feel like quite enough, there are some incredible physical benefits. So don't negate those. As much as Don doesn't see it as his main driver.
Okay, well I can tell you about them.
Some people that it really is a huge driver for. So if you
the easiest way to get into an ice bath is if you're trying to avoid a negative health stimulus.
Yeah,
that's
the way
you
we
wouldn't
found
even be
our
listening.
parents
So
all got in temporarily when they've been in agony and they realize that the ice bath.
And so you don't have to worry about willpower or habits or anything like that. If you've got something that is paining you and someone says ice baths will help, and you get in and it helps, you're not looking for advice. You're just like, yeah, I just do them. It's so easy. So for me, that just shows desire. It's more a challenge if you're not. So like I wasn't doing it for like and avoiding health pain. I may have been trying to avoid future health pains by like recovery. I'm trying to get my body back to where it should be after a rugby career.
Yeah.
I was doing it for the mental side purely. But I mean, it helps with inflammation, helps with things like arthritis. It helps with some cardio elements too, just because of what it does to your heart. It has these plethora of indirect small effects that help with pain relief. It helps with, I've said inflammation. And that's about the depth to which I go. Because I've seen science proving. And I've seen science disproving. Oh, it gets rid of muscle building if you do it after you've worked out. So that's a common question. When do you ice bath? And people go, not after a workout, because you're not going to grow your muscle as much. I'm like, are you trying to be like Arnold Schwarzenegger? Are you looking at your macros, your micros, your nutrient thing? How are you sleeping? Are you not drinking? Are all these other small percentages that you're not thinking about? Are you on top of them before you look for an excuse not to? Because I always say, like, if I was to gym 5 days in a row and I ice bathed after my gym session, as opposed to someone else that gymmed 5 days in a row and gymmed and ice bathed maybe 2 or 3 times at a different time, I would be able to work out more efficiently, more consistently, more often, because of the overall effects that ice bath does for recovery. But there will always be someone that'll take a bit of science without the context and say, well, no, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
So that's where I'd say just be careful around the health when you're looking. If you've got something and you want to try it, ice bath, that's the best way to find out if it's going to help you. Then the mental side, there's very few things that I think you can challenge yourself on as consistently and small and easy accessible as ice baths. And that's the truth of it, because it's so hard for you to even think about doing it. But it takes 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes of your day, every day. Think, what else could you do? You can go and climb 3 peaks, you can run a marathon, but that takes a lot of time, a lot of training, and it's a lot of effort.
It helps develop mental grit. Like we did the 3 Peaks challenge, and you have to have a lot of mental grit. And it's I don't know. And there's even neuroscientists have proven there's a certain part of your brain. Do you remember the part of the brain?
I haven't remembered it yet.
We need to.
I've written it. I've written it down.
But there's a certain part of your brain that they've proven that if you do something that you don't want to do, that part of it, and you consistently challenge yourself to do things you don't want to do, that part of your brain grows, which is that mental grit. And I'm not talking about.
You have to be more specific. It's not that you don't want to do. It's so like you can't say going into work when you don't want to go to work is very different to getting into an ice bath when you don't want to get into it. Does that make sense?
Well,
so
what I was more specific,
it's the choice. It's the choice. It's when you have a choice to do something you don't want to do versus when you do something you don't want to do, but you don't have the choice.
Or another example I was going to give is that it's not about doing hard things. Because if you enjoy doing those hard things, it's not going to have the same effect. So a good example I've heard of on this is that lifting weights and doing a hard gym workout, that doesn't always grow that part of the brain, because you might love it. Like I love it and get all excited for that hard workout. So it's not about doing hard things, doesn't get that mental toughness, that mental grit always. It's doing something that you don't want to do. You would rather
but you're
choosing part of you that doesn't want to do it, and you're choosing to do it.
So that's why I said, like, going into work when you don't want to do it's not going to
grow
that thing.
You don't have a choice because there's So and that really helps to. It's a fantastic tool. Like Don says, it's so accessible. It's going to take 2 or 3 minutes of your day, and it's going to help you to, if you're looking for that challenge, it's going to help you to grow, and you don't want it to come in a negative, adverse way, like someone being sick or you being sick or some horrible challenge coming your way that's going to help you to grow. It's a really great way to bring a stressor into your day-to-day life that is going to help you to develop toughness, resilience, that internal self-confidence, and like a whole plethora of things, without you having to spend ages for
any money, time, training, family sacrifice.
Start with cold showers. It doesn't have to be an ice bath.
Yeah. So, and I think we're on 47 minutes, and it's been
a good chat.
Yeah, I think we can chat a lot more about it.
I do want to end off by saying,
is
just kind of outlining our plans for the next sort of. So our 2-year-old is crying in the back.
That sounds like 47 minutes long enough.
I can hear our 2-year-old crying on the baby monitor. That's why I'm a bit distracted. But what are really important that I want to end off by talking about is the plans with Identity Human for as we step into October now. We're at the end of September. We have 2 really exciting things coming up. Firstly, between this next week and up until about the 3rd of October, I think it is, we are opening the doors to our beginners ice bath course. So if you've enjoyed this episode and want to give cold water exposure a go, we have a really great mini course. It's just £39, and like I said, it's Don's everything. Like it's about 10 to 15 videos where Don outlines his experience of ice bathing for the past decade plus, and gives you protocols and tips and answers commonly asked questions, etc. So you can really develop a habit that sticks. Okay. That is, like I said, the doors are opening on that soon, and that will be open until the 3rd of October, and we will post the details in the show notes. Then about the middle of October, we're opening the doors to our free challenge, our free 5-day challenge that we run. And that is our kind of an exciting mindset challenge that we put on, that you can join if you've done it before. Join again, because we're now running it in a completely new format where we're going to be doing live videos each day on a Facebook group. And that is kind of giving you a taster for our kind of bigger, higher touch point program called Unshakable. Do you have anything to add about that?
No, because I think you've done a good job of outlining it all. But I get excited thinking about when these next versions come, because we are
next versions of our programs.
of the programs, both the ice bath and the Unshakable and the challenge, because every time we're trying to fail test review, add value, fail,
Making a
test,
better
review, add value.
experience.
And yeah, I think it's just if you've done them before, keep coming again and just see what you can add to the community and see the difference, because it is great. Like we haven't even started to advertise. We've got people on the waiting list already.
Which is exciting.
That's exciting because it's like where they're seeing it, how they're joining it. Like those are good signs for us. And I'm constantly, and I think like I'm having a discussion with people and they go, stop trying to learn too much and just be and just do and just go on and just take action. I'm like, yeah, but when I learn stuff and I put it into action, it has this greater effect. So we do, like, I've literally just done a deep dive on mental toughness and resilience, which is part of one of the questions, like the programs that we have, or like a psychometric that we have. And guess what? They used ice baths, cold water, as a way to develop resilience by doing cognitive tests on people. So it's like research that was done on mental resilience.
Okay.
And they would cognitively test people, and just they created this program where they would put them into cold water, cognitive tests, and they repeated this, and they watched how that would help their resilience grow by improving their cognitive scores. And I'm like, for me, that was all I needed to see, that everything that we create and what we're doing in the direction we're trying to do is based on some factual evidence, even though I won't point you to that, because I want people to learn to think for themselves, apply to themselves. And if you can think and understand things in your own way, it's going to be far more useful for you in a year's time, 2 years' time, 5 years' time, when myself or Ray aren't there to go, oh, remember this principle, remember that. Is we are getting you guys to understand this through action and knowledge, and action and knowledge. And we're just repeating
it's not just about having those breakthroughs where you're like, wow, that's like wow, I learned so much. It's a light bulb moment. We want you to experience it through practical application, so that you truly learn those lessons yourself, rather than just telling you, oh, these are all interesting science facts. Like, go out there and experience the lessons yourself, so that you can apply it.
And by the way, if you have been on them before, we've seen on the challenges, we can see how often people watch videos and if they get all the way to the end. And if you got to day 4 and you didn't get to day 5, you need to come do it again. Right? You've got to get on board with this for yourself, because realistically, I want to interact with people that are empowered, and the more people we can interact with in this way and create that hub social psychology, the better effect the brand's going to have. Cool. Or the challenge or the value that we're going to have.
So if you're intrigued and want to do it like a free 5-day challenge, it's going to kind of push your boundaries and learn some cool lessons, then have a look. And that will be on our the sign up will be on identityhuman.com. No kind of / or anything, just www.identityhuman.com.
Yeah, great.
Cool.
Thank you very much for allowing me to tell some of my story. I really enjoyed it.
I need to pull more out of you in the future, I think.
We'll get there. Okay. That goes both ways. Okay. That wasn't a threat. That was me. Yeah, I hope to take it the right way. Okay, guys and girls, thank you very much for listening. We really appreciate you giving us your time, your effort. If this helped you, share it on to someone else. You know how it goes. That helps us grow, helps us spread the message. And we're going to create a better value in all those that surround us. So I'll look after me for you. You look after you for me. Now have a great day. Bye.
We need to get our podcast downloads up higher.
Yeah.